Okay, hereby call this City of Boardman City Council Special Meeting, October 25th, 2022 to order. We'll stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll go to the roll call. We have everyone here. We have all 7 of us here. So I don't think we need to have a roll call. And we'll move right into the discussion on whether or not anyone feels that we need to have an executive session. We need to remember that the executive session, we can't discuss anything in there. It's only for, we can't discuss anything. Anybody think we need to go there? Okay, having hearing none, we are gonna not go to the executive session. We're gonna move to our action item, which is the council deliberations regarding the public hearing of October 18, 2022. And Councilor Baumgartner had some questions.
Is it on?
Yes.
Ms. Rollins, are you able to hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I just have a few questions. If you don't mind answering, and just remember that you don't have to answer my questions. So in your testimony, you alleged that City Manager Pettigrew gave you verbal direction to add 24 hours of sick time to your leave bank. Best practice is to follow up any verbal direction with an email to the person or persons in that discussion, summarizing the conversation and asking if there are any questions or clarifications. Did you follow up your conversation with an email to City Manager Pettigrew summarizing the verbal discussion?
Am I allowed to expand, or is it a yes or no question?
You can expand.
I would say no, because that was not the practice that had been established during my tenure at the City of Boardman. Emails tended to be ignored or not responded to.
So in your testimony, you alleged the verbal conversation with City Manager Pettigrew occurred in August. You also indicated that the days you were out sick were also in August. Why did you add 24 hours of your sick time to your leave bank and backdate them to July?
I'm not able to answer that question, not having documentation in front of me.
In your testimony, you alleged that your side of the annual review was saved to the desktop on your work computer. In my experience, annual reviews are first completed by the employee to allow the opportunity to provide input, and then the employee forwards their completed annual review to their direct supervisor, who in turn completes their portion of the annual review. Did you send your employee completed annual review to City Manager Pettigrew?
I did not, because she indicated that she wanted me to complete it and then bring it in a printed form when she had scheduled a meeting for us to discuss both sides.
In your testimony, you alleged that you were interviewed in the police department and were locked in, which caused you to have a severe trauma response. As a former city clerk who also worked for 6 months on the police department side, I can clarify that the doors on the police department side are locked on one side to restrict access into the police department, but are not locked to restrict access out of the police department. At any time during your interview, did you communicate to anyone that you were having a severe trauma response?
No, because that was the first time that it ever happened to me. So I was just trying to adapt and respond. I had only been over on the police side inside once, so I had no understanding of how the doors worked on that. So I'm not saying that it was a logical response, it was just an emotional response.
Excuse me, Karen, do you have anything you would like to share at this time?
In your testimony, you allege you were repeatedly threatened with insubordination for not responding to text messages and voicemail. You stated that you assumed the person contacting you was Chief Stokoe. Did you respond to the first text messages and or voicemails asking for clarification as to who you could communicate with at City Hall?
No, because it was made very clear to me when I was escorted out of the building on that first day that I was to have no contact with staff. There may have been miscommunication, but no contact information was provided to me when I was placed on an unpaid administrative leave, indicating that these are the numbers that I would be allowed to contact or the people that I would be allowed to contact. So I was just trying to abide by the rules that were set. I was not in possession of all of the documentation. The Garrity notice wasn't provided until 10 days after I'd been placed on unpaid administrative leave. So there was no clarity onto who I could contact or who I was supposed to respond to.
Okay. And I have just one last question. In your testimony, you stated that as a salary exempt employee, your time is recorded against completion of tasks and salary is granted as a base amount without the option of being paid for overtime. Being salary exempt comes with the understanding that all time needs to be accurately accounted for. This means that if a person works 4 hours one day, the other 4 hours need to be made up during that pay period. In order to account for all time worked, timesheets need to reflect exactly how many hours are put into each day. This provides documentation that no one is abusing their salary exempt status by getting paid for hours they didn't work. Did you complete your timesheets to accurately show your daily hours worked?
I did to the best of my ability. I believe that the day that I was leaving early was also during the time period where I had a concussion. It's not an excuse, just an explanation.
I have no further questions.
Thank you. Any other counselors have questions? So if we don't have any questions, we're at the point where we need to make a motion as whether to let me make sure I read it right. To move to approve the termination or to not terminate. I think that's where we're at. Based on the evidence that we've had and we've heard and we've seen.
So, Jen, I did want to just make a comment. In reviewing the information and in listening to some of the questions that Councillor Baumgartner asked, I appreciate all of the information that you gave us, but as I was looking at it very thoroughly since the day that you presented it, there's a lot of things that you brought up, and I don't know that a lot of those apply directly to the things that were in question. And the two specific things that really I think are central are the two things that you really weren't able to answer even today with Councillor Baumgartner. One being the explanation of the backdating. And I think also the completion of your timesheet to the best of your knowledge. I think that you gave answers, but they were very vague, and I don't think that they were clear or in any way showed real evidence. I'm going to say in your favor, and so I do move. Or I make a motion to approve the termination of General Luke's employment for the reasons stated in the pre-disciplinary notice dated October 6, 2022, and to direct the city manager to prepare and issue a letter of termination. I also move to continue General Owens paid administrative leave through the last day of her employment.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion that anybody would like to have in regards to this motion? Having here no discussion, we'll do a roll call vote, please.
Counselor Baumgartner,
Yes.
Counselor Cuevas,
Yes.
Counselor Prophet,
Yes.
Counselor Drago,
Yes.
Counselor Pearson,
Yes.
Counselor Williams,
Yes.
Mayor Kiefer,
Yes. So the motion carries. And I think that leaves us, is there any other, I don't think there's anything else that we need to have because that is our special meeting takes care of it. So this meeting is adjourned.